And so we can inshallah get started. Alhamdulillah, recite the salawat please. So alhamdulillah, we're blessed to have, inshallah, hopefully, if Allah wills, to experience another Ramadan. It is a really significant blessing to be able to experience the month of Ramadan. And for those who can fast, they will benefit. And for those who cannot fast also, they will benefit. And the month of Ramadan is a month that Quran was revealed, a month that the door of paradise is open and the door of hell and nar and fire is closed, and amongst many other traits and qualities that the month of Ramadan has. And it's a month that we refresh our iman, we make big decisions, inshallah. We ask forgiveness in this blessed month of Ramadan. And we reflect on the noble Quran, the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, the revelation and the last revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are many spiritual benefits and opportunities that lie in this month of Ramadan, and it's ready for us to take and to take advantage, inshallah. But in order for us to be able to sort of perhaps tackle some of our confusions when it comes to ruling, I prepared this presentation. As usually I say, I'm not really good at PowerPoint to make it. So it's going to be very basic and simple. And so the first, as we promised, is going to be niyyah and intention. Niyyah and intention is any act of worship is wajib. Any act of worship, from zakatul fitra to khums to salat to wudu and to fast and other acts of worship and ibadah, we have to make that intention. But when it comes to fasting, there are obviously things that we usually have question. We usually have question. We had a question on fast, on intention, to which I'm going to answer. A lot of questions I'm going to answer, and then there are going to be questions that perhaps we're not going to get the time because it's Thursday night, and I'm going to make it inshallah short. There are a lot of things for me to cover, but inshallah I try my best to cover those important points, inshallah. In order for a fasting person to be certain or confident that they have observed the fast from the beginning of the Fajr till Maghrib, they have to refrain from eating and drinking prior to the adhan, right? They call it imsak. And what happened? So for a short period of time prior to Fajr and after Adhan, right, a little bit before Fajr, we have to refrain from eating and drinking or any act that invalidate fasting. And also when it comes to Adhan al-Maghrib, when Adhan calls, little bit after that we have to wait. And this ruling is for the one who knows the timing of Adhan, right? Say that I have an app, and by the way, these are different apps. I'm just going to give you like perhaps an information that some of us we didn't know. These apps, when you go to their setting, usually they have different types of setting. There are different institutions that they identify what is that or when is the time of salat, right? So if you pick these different institutions, based on the institution that you pick, your time of salat may change little bit, right? Like maybe 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes. So that's why sometimes you have speech. Some people, their azan calls, you know, in their phone. And then 2 minutes later, another person's phone start calling for adhan. So that's because their setting is different, right? So that is why, so say that I have these apps, and in order for me to make sure that I have the intention of fasting, right, that my fasting is valid, I have to refrain from eating, drinking, or any act that invalidates fasting prior to the adhan of Fajr and a little bit after adhan al-Maghrib. This is for people that they know the timing of Salat. Say that I'm in a village, I don't have any phone, I don't have any TV, nothing, no internet, and I don't have any connection. And for me, the imsak, meaning the stopping from doing any acts of that invalidates fasting, I have to make sure that azan, right, is called. I have to make sure. So it's not really about, you know, you should be even more cautious when it comes to not knowing the azan time. On the other hand, if a person is uncertain whether Maghrib has occurred, they must, in all circumstances, refrain from engaging any acts that invalidate the fast until they attain certainty or confidence, or it is established through a valid religious method that night has arrived, which means the adhanul maghrib is called. So in the case that not knowing the time of adhan, I have to make sure that I have to reach certainty, I have to be confident that now it's the time of maghrib. So this was general, very basic ruling. But the next would be a little bit more interesting. Last year we had this. Every year we have, you know, people that they do fast in Yawm al-Shak. Yawm al-Shak, you know, the day of doubt, which basically the last day of Sha'ban. People, they fast. Is it wajib? Absolutely not. It's not wajib, right? That's number one. So if you see someone who is not fasting in the day of Yawm al-Shak, we shouldn't start doubting the faith of that individual. He just doesn't want to fast. It's up to him. It's not an obligatory act, right? So my child, my son is baligh, or my daughter is baligha. Should I force my child to fast on Yawm al-Shak? Absolutely not. We tell them that it's recommended. So that's number one ruling. The day when a person is uncertain whether it is the day of Sha'ban, the last day of Sha'ban, or the first day of Ramadan, called what? Yawm al-Shak. Now there are rulings which I'm going to list. Number one, you cannot intend the niyyah of this day as the day of Ramadan. That's number one. So this Yawm al-Shak is not part of Ramadan. That's it. That's my intention. If, and this is interesting, if I did this and it happens to be the first day of Ramadan, that salat, that fasting is what? Valid or invalid? Invalid. Why? Because I'm not supposed to make the intention of Yawm al-Shak, the day of doubt, as part of Ramadan, because it's not part of Ramadan. Number two, we may intend to fast as a recommended fast, meaning, mustahabbi fast. I love fasting, right? I'm going to fast for the month of Sha'ban. Or qada fast, or a nadhri qada, right? Like I made a nadhr to fast, any type of fast. So that is my intention for Yawm al-Shak, for the day of doubt. A mustahabbi fast, or any other type of intention. And if it happens to be the first day of Ramadan, it's going to count as the fast for the first day of Ramadan. I think I'm going to mention, I brought this, but if not, I'm just going to mention it now because I remember now. Say that Yawm al-Shak I didn't fast. Number one, I'm not committing sin. It's recommended. It's good to fast, but I'm not committing sin. Number two, if it happens to be the day of Ramadan, the first day of Ramadan, still is okay. I didn't commit sin. All I need to do is what? To do qada after the blessed month of Ramadan. If they make an intention that if it is Ramadan, their first their fast is for Ramadan. And if it is not for Ramadan, no, and if it is not Ramadan, it is for qada mustahab or another which I mentioned. That if I say that I'm gonna fast for mustahabbi fast, right? If it happens to be Ramadan, it's gonna be counted as my first Ramadan, day of Ramadan. If it's not Ramadan, it's gonna count as my qada fast or my mustahabbi fast or any other type of fast. If they intend to fast in general, I just love to fast, I don't have any intention, I didn't mention it's a mustahabbi fast, I didn't mention anything like that, still it's valid. And if it's the day of Ramadan, first day of Ramadan, it's going to be counted as the first day of Ramadan. Do we have any question? Yes. So because we're not sure that if it is a day of Ramadan. You see, these are, yeah, you can repeat your question.
Yeah, my question was, so if I look at point C, right? So for Yamul Shak, I can make an intention that if it is Ramadan, then this fast is for Ramadan. And if it's not, then it's not for Ramadan. So would it benefit me in any way to even make the intention of Yamul Shak, or is that's the best?
No, the best thing is that if I have qada fast, I have that intention. I'm making a qada fast. If I don't have any qada fast, right? Mustahabbi fast. Because the month of Sha'ban is mustahab to fast. I'm doing that. But if a person's intention is not mustahab, it's not qada, nothing like that. It's just about, I'm not sure. If it's the month of Ramadan, oh Allah, accept it as my first day, my first fast. If it's not, whatever, and still it's valid. Still, if it happens to be the first day of Ramadan, still is going to be okay.
But you still have to do the qada for if it was Ramadan.
No, it's going to be valid, so you don't need qada. You don't need to do qada.
With the intention for Yamul Shak or Mustahib as well?
What if your niyyah was qada?
Oh, okay, so we're going to get there. We're going to get there in the next slide. But to answer your question, if you say that today I'm going to make a qada fast, Yawm Shak, right? And if it happens to be, what? The first day of Ramadan, right? You will change your intention as soon as you know, and that day will be your first day of fasting. Does that make sense? Sure?
Yeah, the changing the niyyah, it does.
Changing
clarify.
the niyyah. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Okay. I think... okay, here. If a person... okay, yeah. Because I'm trying to be on the same page. Now, if a person is fasting on Yawm al-Shak and realizes during the day, whether before or after the noon, doesn't matter, that is actually the day of Ramadan. They must immediately change their intention to that of a first day of Ramadan. So say that we announce late, right? We announce late, please don't hate us, right? I know we sometimes announce late. Don't worry, you can fast day of Yawm al-Shak. Again, you can. You don't have to. You can fast. But morning say that a message comes that yes, this is going to be the day of Ramadan. If you fasted on that day, either before Zuhr or after Zuhr, the announcement comes, immediately you change your intention to the first day of Ramadan. And that fast would be valid or invalid? Huh? Valid. Ahsantum. Okay. What happened? Yes.
Ramadan, then it's still not valid?
Because the intention was wrong.
But my intention was that it is first day of Ramadan,
But
and it turns out to be first day of
But you're
Ramadan.
not sure. You're not sure. So Yawm al-Shak is different. Yawm al-Shak, yeah, the intention of an act of worship is important. That needs to be specific, right? So say that I'm not sure whether tomorrow is the day of Ramadan or not, but I'm still making the intention of fasting on the day of Ramadan. That intention is wrong. So even if it happens to be the first day of Ramadan, still that fasting is going to be invalid because the intention was problematic. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Because your intention is correct. Right? So it's like I'm praying salat of Zuhr. That intention is important. Which salat are you praying? Right? Does that make sense? The same. So all acts of worship is the same when it comes to intention. So okay, this was the first one. This is the second one. Ya Allah. What happened? Ah, there. So if a person does not fast on Yawm al-Shak and realizes during the day that it is actually Ramadan, the ruling depends on the following situations. Say that I didn't do Yawm al-Shak, but it was the first day of Ramadan. What's going to happen? If they had already done something that invalidates the fast before realizing it was Ramadan, they cannot fast for the rest of the day. However, based on the obligatory precaution, they should refrain from anything that breaks the fast for the remainder of the day and make up that day's fast after Ramadan, right? So say that I drank, I ate something, right? I have to make up for that day, right? And still, out of obligatory precaution, I have to refrain from eating and drinking. That's horrible, right? You have to do it again, and then on that day, you cannot do anything too. So that's one. Number two, if they had done anything to break the fast, they had not done, anything to break the fast, and they realize after noon that it is Ramadan, they should make an intention to fast as an act of precaution. And they must also make up the fast after Ramadan. So say that I came to know that it was actually the day of Ramadan, the first day of Ramadan, afternoon, right? Afternoon is important. And I didn't do anything that breaks my fast, right? I still need to make up the fast. If they had not done anything that breaks the fast, and they realize before noon that is Ramadan, they must immediately make the intention for a Ramadan fast, and their fast will be what? Valid or invalid? So the key here is what? Whether I came to know after noon or before noon. That's very important, right? You may perhaps ask that why you're saying these things, but last year we had these questions. That's why I brought it here. So if it's before noon, our announcement came or anyone's announcement came, and you didn't do anything that breaks your fast, immediately change the intention, make the intention that this is my first day of fast, and that fast would be what? Valid. If you came to know afternoon, right, you didn't do anything that breaks your fast, what? You still refrain out of obligatory precaution. You can refer to other maraja, perhaps if they have a different opinion. Out of obligatory precaution, you're supposed to refrain from eating and anything that breaks the fast, but still you need to what? Make up for that day. Yes. Yes. So that's about moon sighting, which I talked about moon sighting, I think, multiple times last year. Not multiple times. Last year, maybe one session. This year, I did it too. moon sighting, the general ruling for moon sighting in this regard, like to answer your specific question, is as soon as you reach certainty from the report, right? That is valid for you, and that is going to be valid, and you can say that this is my first day of Ramadan. Does that make sense? So if you reach certainty from our announcement, alhamdulillah, that means that you can sort of follow what you have reached, what you're certain. You know, you reach yaqeen, that this is the day of Ramadan. Does that make sense? You want a follow-up question?
No, I think, we had instances, when there was a difference of opinion, especially when it comes to Eid also. So that is the reason why I was thinking, how do you reconcile if you have two different groups, one following one marja and the other following the other marja? And so you're supposed to use your own marja's ruling in order for you to apply these, right?
Not necessarily. So Yawm al-Shak is a day of doubt, right?
Yeah.
So if you do this, even if your marja announced the day of Ramadan before the other marja, one day before the other marja, right? You still didn't lose anything, right?
Yeah.
You still had a fast, was mustahab and recommended fast. In terms of reconciling, it's not really an issue. You know, my wife can follow one marja, I can follow another marja. And we could have a different Eid. It's okay. You know, one day I eat breakfast, the other is going to look and watch. Right? Nothing is going to change. Unless, you know, if it is the husband who is eating, that would be a big trouble for the husband. So, what will invalidate a fast? Several things that invalidate fasting, including eating, drinking, sexual intercourse, masturbation, according to obligatory precaution, falsely attributing things to Allah, to the Prophet ﷺ and successors of the Prophet ﷺ. Recite the salawat, please. Obligatory precaution, that means that if that means your marja hasn't reached certainty on this verdict, on this fatwa. So out of precaution, right, you do this, and you have a choice also that to go and refer to another marja in the same rank, right? Mujtahid a'lam, fal a'lam, So anything that it's attributing lie to the Ahlul Bayt, say Imam said that, or Quran said that, I'm not sure, right? All days we have to refrain from that, but in specific, in the month of Ramadan, it becomes what? Invalidates the fast, which is a big deal. So one key is that a hadith is attributed to Imam Sadiq, right? So you can't always play with the word to avoid breaking your fast. According to obligatory precaution, intentionally allowing thick dust to reach the throat, right? Intentionally. 6, remaining in the state of janaba, right? Ritual impurity due to sexual discharge. Until the Fajr Adhan. The Fajr Adhan, prior to Fajr Adhan, I have to do my ghusl. A woman remaining in the state of hayd or nifas until the Fajr Adhan. For a woman, that would be the case. Prior to Adhan, I have to make my ghusl. Enema with liquid substances, for certain people that they have this issue. Vomiting intentionally. For Ayatollah Khamenei's follower, there's one more thing, and that is to putting your head, all your head, in water, right? Like swimming, for instance. Like that is going to break the fast. Do you have any question? No? So if a person unintentionally commits one of the actions that invalidates fasting, their fast remains what? Valid. Right? Say that I accidentally drink. It's okay. Alhamdulillah, right? And I wish it was, halfway through. That's more beneficial. And there's no issue. In case of unintentional acts, there's no difference between forgetfulness, mistake, negligence, or lack of control. Whatever that is unintentional, if I do, that is supposed to break my fast. But since it's unintentional, it's not going to break my fast. However, there are some exceptions to this ruling, right? There are exceptions to that. Number one, if a person swishes water in their mouth to relieve thirst or cool down, and they accidentally swallow the water while being aware that they are fasting, then they must make up qada for that day. Say that I know it's the first day of Ramadan. I know that. But I'm just drinking, putting water right in my mouth to just cool down. I'm not swallowing it. I'm not drinking it. I'm just putting water in my mouth. I know it's the first day of Ramadan. It is the month of Ramadan. But accidentally some water went through, right? That is going to invalidate my fast. And I have to make up for that day. Brushing teeth is okay. Brushing teeth is okay because you're not going to, when you're washing, right, the things that remains, the taste, whatever that is, right? And you're washing it, right? You're not drinking it or you're not swallowing it. And the remaining smell that comes and stays in your mouth, those usually dissolve with your saliva, and that is okay. As long as it's that dissolve, that will be fine. And it's actually good to brush teeth. If a person forgets to perform ghuslul janaba, or a woman with the same in hayd or nifas, in the month of Ramadan and fasts, then later after 1 or more days remembers that they must remembers. Say that I forgot to make ghusl, right? After 10 days, after 5 days, I remember, oh, that day I didn't do ghusl and I fasted. So for each one of them, I have to do what? Fast. With the intention of general obedience to Allah. They call it qurbatan mutlaqah, right? And qurbatan mutlaqah, for your information, this word is not used much. Qurbatan general, what? Intention. What does it mean? That means that I'm not sure. When I'm not sure whether this is a qada fast, is this something that I was supposed to do, right? I have to do. When I'm something I'm not sure about, that's where you see just general intention of qurbatan ilallah. Does that make sense? General intention is when I know that day, I have to do qada. So my intention would be qada fast, qurbatan ilallah. If a person is unaware, did it go through? Okay. If a person is unaware that some of the mentioned invalidators of fasting break the fast and commits them due to ignorance of the ruling, the following applies. Say that I didn't know these things breaking my fast, right? I didn't know that. I did all of them. I did some of them. So how that's going to work? If the act was eating, drinking, or sexual intercourse, their fast is invalid in all cases. So if I didn't know that sexual intercourse invalidates my salat and I did it during the day of Ramadan, right, during my fasting, it's going to invalidate my salat, my fasting in all cases, including eating and drinking. If the act was one of the other invalidated, there are 3 possibilities that the person has. Number 1, if the person was negligence in learning the ruling, right? Say that I had the opportunity to learn these invalidators of fast, but I didn't do it. I was lazy, right? I was on my social media all day. I didn't do work, right? And I did one of them or 2 of them, right? Since I had the opportunity to learn, but I refused or I failed to do so, so my fast will be what? Invalid. I have to do it again. If the person was not negligent in learning the ruling and had no doubt while committing the invalidator, their fast remains what? Valid. So I had a wrong information, right? And this is not due to my what? You have a question, brother? Yeah. Yeah, this is not due my own fault, right? This is not the, they call it jahil what? Qasir, right? That fast would be what? Valid. Because it wasn't my fault, right? I did my best. If the person had a valid religious justification for believing the act did not invalidate the fast, their fast is not invalid, which means is valid. I had just a religious justification for believing that the act is not going to invalidate my fast, and that fast is okay and valid. Any question? No? Qada and kafara. So there are a lot of information. I'm going to skip some of them. Who's tired? Recite the salawat if you're tired. Recite the salawat if you're not tired. You know, you cannot have two votes. You cannot have yay or nay at the same time. There's one. What? Yeah. Are we going to have something after the presentation? Refreshment or something? So there you go. That brings some comfort, right? Okay, so in the following, a person is not required to perform qada, make up fast. Say that I lost, right? I'm not going to read all of them, just a few. The person who became Muslim, converted to Islam, reverted to Islam. So that's not going to be issue, and he doesn't need to make up the fast. If a person who was unconscious or in a coma regains consciousness and had not made the intention to fast during that time, they're not required to make up for those fasts. God forbid, I had a surgery, I went to coma, right? I woke up, I didn't fast that day. I don't need to make up for that day. Father did not fast during the month of Ramadan due to illness and then passed away on Eid al-Fitr of that same year. His eldest son is not obligated to perform the qada fast on his behalf. That means, say that if I didn't have any time to make up that fast, as a result, there's no obligation upon me or my oldest son to fast for that day. So I'm going to skip the rest. Perhaps most of us, it's not going to be applicable to us. If a person intentionally does not fast during the month of Ramadan, the following rule applies. They must sincerely repent. It is obligatory to make up qada for that missed fast under the condition mentioned. They become liable for the deliberate breaking of Ramadan fast, and it is obligatory for them to fast for 2 consecutive months for each missed day. Right? I'm not sick. I can fast, but I'm not fasting. It's a big deal, right? So at least for the fear of this, some perhaps that they have in mind to break their fast. Fast for 2 consecutive months for each missed day, or feed 60 poor people, or free a slave. If they fail to make up the fast before the next Ramadan, then based on obligatory precaution, they must also give 1 mud, approximately 750 grams of food as kafara for the delay for each missed fast. So in addition to those 3, one of those 3, for each day, if he missed to do it, right, during the year prior to the next Ramadan, he needs to do 1 for kafara, meaning feeding, giving 750 grams of wheat, rice, things like that to a needy. Any question? Yes, we're going to talk about that. Is there anyone who has the question around, I'm not sure how many qada fasts do I have? Okay. So if a person has missed several Ramadan fasts but does not remember the exact number, they should fast the minimum number. Right? Say, I'm not sure whether it's 5 or 10, it's 5. I'm not sure whether it's 3 or 5, it's 3. Just fast for 3 days. You go with the minimum number always. If a person knows the total number of missed fasts, but is unsure how many they have already made up, they must fast the remaining uncertain number. Example, if they had 5 missed fasts and are sure that they have completed 2, they must fast 3 more days. You go with, in terms of how many days did I make up, right, for qada fast. And you go with the number that I'm sure. I'm sure that I did 2 days, right? So you're going to fast for 3 more days. Does that make sense? Yeah? If a person missed fast due to an excuse, travel, illness, and is uncertain when their excuse ended, right? They're not sure when they're going to be healed or to be able to fast. They're only required to fast the minimum number they're sure they missed. If unsure whether they return from travel on the 5th or 6th of Ramadan, they should make up 5 fasts. However, fasting the higher number is recommended as a precaution. To be safe, you do more. This is perhaps important too. So the fidya, right? Say that I was sick, I have to do fidya, right? I have to pay 750 grams for each day. Cannot be given before the time for making up the missed fast has passed. Meaning, it must be delayed until after the opportunity for qada has expired. Say that I have 10 days of fast from last year, right? I cannot pay my fidya at the beginning of Sha'ban. I have to wait till all my opportunities are gone, right? That means 10 days before Ramadan is my day, right? That I'm going to pay my fidya. If a person has 30 days of fidya from the previous Ramadan, they must start paying it after the 15th of Sha'ban, 15 days. And the rest after 30th of Sha'ban. If they owe 10 days of fidya, they must start paying for 5 days after the 25th of Sha'ban and complete the rest after the Ramadan begin. If you didn't know this ruling, it's okay. You know, whatever you paid, because we pay usually, some people, they pay on the day of Eid, right? They collect everything, and then they just pay. It's fine. But from now on, you just have this. You can, take a picture or something to have this.
Maulana, I've got a follow-up question. So if someone is insulin diabetic,
Okay.
or they have reached an age where they just cannot keep the fast, so how does that apply in this particular case as far as fidya?
We're gonna do that. We're gonna talk about that in our next slide.
Thank you, Maulana. Jazakallah.
Problem. Yeah, we're in those slides, almost done, inshallah. If a person with a chronic illness, that's a chronic illness, has been paying fidya for their missed fast before the proper time, right? Before the proper time, meaning before the following Ramadan. Due to ignorance of the ruling, they can count those payment toward the fidya of previous years. If the total amount they have already given matches the required fidya for the past years, then those obligations are fulfilled. And they only need to pay the fidya for the most recent year after its proper time arrives. I think this is the one that you have. If a person's illness lasts for several years, but they recover during the last year, they're only required to make up the fast for the most recent Ramadan. So say that I was not able to fast for 2 years because of illness. And so this Ramadan, right, is going to, this Ramadan I cannot fast either. So for till after this Ramadan, till next Ramadan, I'm okay, right? I'm healed, I can fast. I'm only obligated to fast for this upcoming Ramadan, not the previous Ramadan. Yes, yes, because you're able to do it, right? However, they do not to, So for the previous Ramadan, since I was not able to make up those fasts, they do not need to make up the fast from previous years. Instead, they must give fidya 1 mud, approximately 750 grams of food per missed day, to a poor person for each day of fasting missed in previous years. So that means if chronic illness continues throughout the year, so I'm not gonna, it's not obligated to me and for me to fast, to make up, and to qada. All I need to do is what? Pay 750 grams of food to a needy person. Do we have any question? What happened? We usually announce every year. You can say $5, usually that's what they announce. So there are few short ruling. I just brought it maybe because these are questions that I usually receive, so I brought them. Perhaps it's applicable. If a person misses fasting in Ramadan due to illness, and their illness continues after Ramadan, then there are 3 options. If they pass away before the time for paying fidya arrives, neither qada nor fidya is required. If they pass away after the fidya obligation has started, qada is not required, but if they had made a will for fidya, it must be paid from from 1/3 of their estate. That means their wealth. If they did not leave a will, their heirs, meaning the people who are inheritors, are not obligated to pay the fidya. If person misses fasting in Ramadan due to a valid excuse and their excuse ends after Ramadan, right? They couldn't fast with an excuse, justified excuse, and their excuse has ended, meaning they're okay, now they fast. But they intentionally delay making up the fast, qada, until the next Ramadan. They must make up the missed fast, number 1, and give fidya. They call it kafara of delay. 1 mud, which is again approximately 750 grams of food, to a person. 2 things I need to do. Say I was sick, I couldn't fast. I healed, but still I could fast, but I didn't do qada. I should do 2 things. Number 1, fast. Number 2, pay the kafara of delay, which is 750 grams for each day. An elderly man or woman who is unable to fast due to old age or experience extreme hardship that is normally unbearable is not required to fast. And if fasting is completely impossible, there is no obligation in anything. Say that I'm so old that I cannot fast, right? I don't need to fast. There's no need for me to do qada. There's no need for me to do fidya or kafara or anything. It's just wait from me. If fasting causes severe hardship, they must give fidya. If the reason is only hardship, not old age, it's only hardship, I need to do fidya. And if that hardship continues throughout the year, that's going to be the only thing I need to do, and I don't need to do qada. Does that make sense? Because I cannot do that. I was not healed, Always it is hard for me to do it. I cannot fast at all. So all I need to do is, for each missed day, I need to do 1 fidya, which means 750 grams of food. Now, frequent traveler. So a person who is frequent traveler, kathiru safar, or whose job involves travel, must perform full tamam prayer. That means fasting too, the same. This applies in 3 cases, right? Kathiru safar means frequent traveler. Number 1, those whose job is traveling, right? Say I'm a driver, I'm a pilot. My salat is going to be what? Tamam. Everywhere I go, I have to do what? Fast during the blessed month of Ramadan. Number 2, those whose job requires travel. My job is not travel. I'm not a driver, but I'm an employee that I have to travel, right? Those who frequently travel for non-work reason, say that I have caravan, I keep taking people to caravan, over and over again throughout the year. That makes me kathiru safar, frequent traveler, which means that I have to fast when I have to fast when I'm traveling, and my salat will be tamam and full. There's exception, group 2 and 3. If they are considered frequent traveler, in social norms, they must pray full prayers while traveling. Not for number 1. The group, number 1 is traveler, right? Driver, they don't need to be, they call it the urf, right? Social norms. Social norm doesn't need to conform or confirm that I'm a frequent traveler because I'm a driver. My job is traveling. But if my job is not traveling, right? I'm a worker or employee that travels, right? In this case, the social norms should consider my job or me as a frequent traveler. If they do not, group 1, as I said, they don't need to be labeled as a frequent traveler. For a person whose job requires travel, group 2, or who frequently travels for non-work reason, group 3, caravan, right? Being classified as kathiru safar depends on 3 conditions. Number 1, they must intend to continue traveling for a significant period. Not for the driver, by the way, for the employee, right, who travels for work. They must intend to continue traveling for a significant period, such as 6 months in 1 year, or 3 months per year for 2 or more years. 6 months in 1 year, or 3 months for how many? 2 or more years throughout the year, right? I'm traveling that much. That's number 1 condition to make me frequent traveler. Number 2, they must travel at least 10 days per month, or travel at least 10 times in separate days per month, right? 10 times throughout the month I travel. Even if each trip is brief but reaches the shari'i travel distance, meaning had the masafat shari'i. So how many times? 10 days per month, or 10 travel throughout the month. Even if that travel and that trip is what? Short. As long as it is enough to make my salat qasr, right? That is going to be counted as my 1 trip. So if it's 10 trip per month, that's going to make me a frequent traveler. Number 3 condition. Their frequent travel must become a reality, meaning actively practiced. Before reaching this stage, as an obligatory precaution, they should pray both and qasr and tamam. So that means that if I just got a job, that job requires me to travel this much, but I just started, or I hasn't started, this week I'm going to start. So the first trip that I go, my salat is not going to be tamam, full. out of obligatory precaution, I have to pray both qasr and tamam. So practical example, an employee who travels weekly for work, or a person who travels frequently for a nazr, vow, or a caravan must meet the above condition. For the first 2 weeks, as a precaution, they must pray both qasr and tamam for the first 2 weeks. Say that I just got a job, that job requires me to travel. The first 2 weeks of this job, I need to pray both qasr and tamam. After this period, their prayer will be full while traveling. After this period, which means after the second week, my salat is going to be tamam. I'm going to be considered as a frequent traveler. So I'm going to go over question, inshallah, end it, and yes, it's long. So it's really late. So any question, we can, after the session, I can finish with those who want to leave. So traveling within the cities that DFW is okay. Your salat is not going to be invalidated.
Agha, we had some questions.
Let me go over these questions because they submitted.
Yes.
Right? Their priority.
Do you want us to bring it on the screen? Do you want us to bring the questions on the screen?
No, I have these questions. We heard some of Maulana say that at one time, if we have qada fast, we can pay kafara someone needy for those missed fasts. So we answer this, right? That it's if I miss the fast, different obviously variation, the reason that we mentioned, different factors involved in this. But generally speaking, that's the case, that for every day I have to pay qada, kafara, depending, I think I covered this extensively. What is the importance of a'mal? Is it cultural? It's not cultural, it's a'mal night. It's mustahab to stay up and do the a'mal and the acts of worship that it is recommended. So if we forgot or still have fast remaining from the previous year that we were not able to complete, then what do we do? Is it kafara or fidya that needs to be paid, and how much? So we are also covered this, that yes, you have to pay for each missed day, depending obviously on the format of the fast that you had, or the reason that you missed the fast. Usually, generally speaking, for the believers, it's 750 grams, $5 for each day, and you're going to make up the qada fast later. I heard that if you accidentally ate something by mistake, which we talk, you can continue. It's not going to invalidate your salat, your fast. Intentions of fast, all 30 fast one day or each day niyyah is separate. No, as long as you know that tomorrow you're going to fast, for the sake of Allah, to seek proximity to Allah, that's going to be your intention. Okay. During fasting month, after suhoor, if sleeping till zuhr time and fajr is qada, then fast okay. Fast is going to be okay, right? If you, I don't know, I think maybe fasting month after suhoor, if sleeping till zuhr time and fajr is qada. So say that in the month of Ramadan, I missed my fajr qada, right? I missed my fajr because I was sleepy. Yes, it's okay. Your fasting is okay. It's a haram. It's a sin to miss prayer, but fasting is okay as long as you had your intention. Yeah, I think the rest of question, okay, there is another question. No, you don't have to break. The question is, should I break my fast on time? No, you don't have to break your fast on time. As long as you know that this is Maghrib time, you can break your fast. You can start eating later, right? I'm not on the... blood sugar test is okay. Injection is okay. blood test is okay. Even injection with vitamin, according to Ayatollah Sistani, is okay. Medical test is okay. There are, sometimes they send like a, they call it endoscopy. In Farsi, they call it endoscopy. How you translate it, pronounce it in English? What? Endoscopy. We call it what? Endoscopy, huh? Endoscopy? Yeah. I think Farsi is better. It's an English word, by the way. I know that. But the way you pronounce it. Anyway, so it's okay. Even those are okay. But sometimes what they do is they put some oil at, sort of the camera, or whatever that is. They put some oil in it. If the oil has, obviously, the camera has oil, right? It goes to your body and you sort of take it. Yeah, that breaks your fast. But if just about the test and things like that, it's going to be okay and your fast is going to be valid. So inshallah, the rest of question, I know that other questions came up. So let me see. Because, priority is with those who sent us and submitted the question. I'm going to let others go. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to wait. I have a meeting in 5 minutes. I'm going to wait for 5 minutes, inshallah. If you have any question, we can discuss it. If not, you can send the question. Still submit the question, whether to my number, Brother Bakr's number, or other brothers. They're going to send it to me. I'm going to post it on our WhatsApp channel. Does that make sense? I think that's going to be a fair deal with us, inshallah. Thank you, everybody. Please remember me in your du'as. It's toward the end of Sha'ban. May Allah bless you, inshallah. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات.